in the heart of the African continent, where the sun cast golden flames across the vast savanna and the trees whispered secrets to the wind, there existed a land that defied the expectations of the outside world. It was a place where animals of the jungle and the native people lived not just in proximity, but in harmony, bound by a friendship so ancient that even the elders claimed to have heard the tale from their own great-grandparents. This bond was not born out of dominance or taming, but out of understanding, mutual respect, and a deep spiritual connection rooted in the traditions of both beast and man. The story begins with a small village named Ketwani, nestled near the dense rainforest on one side and the rolling plains on the other. The people of Ketwani were hunters, farmers, and storytellers, their lives deeply interwoven with the rhythm of the wild. Every morning began with a ritual. The elders would hum low chants to the spirit of the forest, offering fruits and millet to the edge of the jungle. The villagers believed that by honoring the forest, the animals within would bless them with peace and wisdom. Over time, the jungle animals seemed to acknowledge these offerings, appearing near the village without fear or aggression. It started with the monkeys who watched from the treetops as children played beneath. Then the elephants who strolled slowly past the outer huts without trampling a single crop, and even a pride of lions that lay sunbathing within sight, their golden eyes blinking lazily as if in acceptance of their strange neighbors. Among the people of Ketwani was a young boy named Jabari, whose curiosity was as vast as the plains themselves. Unlike other children, he did not fear the darkness of the forest or the roaring of a distant leopard. He often wandered alone to the jungle's edge, listening to the rustling leaves and mimicking the calls of birds. One fateful day, Jabari ventured deeper than ever before, drawn by a melodic howl that echoed through the trees. There, in a small clearing where sunlight pierced the canopy like golden arrows, he found a young hyena caught in a hunter's snare, its leg twisted and its eyes wide with pain and terror. Despite everything he'd been told about hyenas, that they were tricksters, scavengers, dangerous, Jabari saw only a creature in need. With calm movements and a soothing voice, he approached, using a handmade knife to cut the rope. The hyena, trembling and wary, didn't run. Instead, it limped closer, sniffed Jabari's hand, and licked his fingers. From that moment on, a bond was formed that would ripple through the years like the river winding through the valley. Jabari named the hyena Nuru, meaning light. For it was in that animal's eyes he found something unexplainable, a flicker of recognition, as though they had always known each other. As the seasons passed, Jabari and Nuru became inseparable. The villagers watched with awe and a hint of fear as the boy wandered with the hyena at his side, their silhouettes often visible against the setting sun. Yet nothing ever happened to Jabari. He was never attacked, never injured, and more remarkably, the animals in the jungle seemed to recognize him. Birds would land on his shoulders, antelope would graze nearby without fleeing, and once, even a great silverback gorilla came down from the high ridge to sit beside him, as though they shared a silent conversation only they could understand. Stories began to grow around Jabari like vines on a baobab tree. Some said he had been blessed by the forest gods. Others believed he had inherited the soul of an ancient animal shaman. But Jabari never claimed to be special. He simply listened, to the rustle of leaves, to the chirping of insects, to the low growl of Nuru when danger approached. He watched and he learned, and in doing so, he bridged a gap that had existed since the dawn of time. The jungle responded in kind. Over the years, other animals approached the village not in hunger or hostility, but in peace. A one-eyed leopard with scars across its back would sleep near the granaries, never touching the stored food. An elephant with a cracked tusk brought water from the river in its curled trunk during droughts. And the villagers, moved by these gestures, began to teach their children not just the names of animals, but their stories, their emotions, their roles in the grand circle of life. The harmony, however, was not without its challenges. Word of Ketwani's unusual bond with the wild spread beyond the mountains and rivers, reaching cities where men saw only profit in the rarity. One day, trucks rolled into the region, carrying men with guns, cameras, and cages. They claimed to be scientists and conservationists, but their motives were tangled with greed. They offered money for guides, hired locals to lead them through the forest, and promised to bring progress. But progress came in the form of destruction. Trees were felled, paths were carved into sacred land, and worst of all, they sought to capture the animals, Nuru included. Jabari, now a young man, stood firm against them. He warned of the consequences, of the delicate balance that would be shattered if they pursued their plan. But they laughed, dismissing his warnings as superstition. When Nuru was captured in a metal cage, her mournful cries echoed through the jungle like a death knell. The animals, once peaceful, began to change. Birds vanished. Elephants stomped fields in panic. The lions roared through the nights, unsettling even the bravest of villagers. The elders gathered in emergency council. Jabari spoke passionately, pleading with the village to act, and act they did. The people of Ketwani, joined by animals that still trusted them, staged a protest unlike any seen before. They blocked roads, dismantled traps, and with the guidance of Jabari, freed the captured creatures one by one. The climax came when a massive herd of buffalo, led by an aged bull that Jabari had once nursed back to health, stormed the temporary base camp of the intruders. Not a single life was lost, but the message was unmistakable. This land belonged to more than humans. Eventually, the outsiders left, shamed and defeated, and Ketwani was left to rebuild. It took years for the jungle to heal, for trust to be restored. But the bond had not been broken, only tested. Jabari continued to live at the edge of the forest, now a man with silver in his hair, and Nuru, older and slower but still watchful, never left his side. Together they became symbols not just of peace, but of possibility. The story of Ketwani grew into legend, passed from mouth to ear like sacred fire. Children across villages were raised on tales of the boy who spoke to animals, and of the jungle that answered. And though many doubted, those who made the pilgrimage to Ketwani returned changed, their hearts softened by the sight of zebras grazing beside goats, of children feeding parrots from their hands, and of a man who could sit beside a lion and whisper secrets that only the wind could carry. In time, Ketwani became more than a village. It became a sanctuary, not marked by fences or laws, but by trust and ancient understanding. People came not to exploit, but to learn. And the animals, as if sensing the change, welcomed them. In the end, it was not power or technology that built this haven, it was friendship. The kind that crossed species, language, and fear. The kind that endured. And when Jabari's time came, the entire jungle mourned. The birds sang quieter songs, the lions stood vigil on the hills, and Nuru lay by his grave for days without eating. But even in death, Jabari's spirit lingered, whispered in the rustle of leaves and the warm breeze that danced between the trees. For he had done the impossible. He had reminded the world that friendship need not be limited by form or species. That in the deepest part of the wild, a boy and a hyena had once forged a bond so powerful, it changed the very nature of what it meant to be human. And so the jungle and the people lived on, side by side, friends in a world that too often forgets the language of the earth. But not here, not in Ketwani, not in the heart of Africa where the sun still paints the sky in gold and the wild still remembers the boy who listened.